Hello everyone and welcome to this video lecture on legal rights of women in India. This topic is very close to my heart because awareness of legal rights to women is very important. As I know, many women do not know about their rights. Not only uneducated women, even educated women do not know about their rights. If you do not know about your rights, you cannot exercise them properly. So the legal rights are not of any use if you don't have awareness about them. So in this video, I thought I'll make an attempt to create a sort of awareness about legal rights of women in India. That is the reason why I accepted to make this video lecture when Pragya madam asked me to do this. At the outset, let me wish you all happy International Women's Day. I would like to begin this lecture by thanking some people. First and foremost, I would like to thank my parents for not killing me at my birth because I am a girl. I owe my life to them. I thank all those men and women who fought tirelessly for women's education and raised their voices for sending girls to schools and colleges. I owe my education to them. I thank my husband and in-laws for allowing me to continue my education even after my marriage and who did not ask me to quit my job and who value my services. I owe my career growth to them. I might sound a little dramatic when I say this, but the fact is that we being women end up thanking so many people in our lives for basic things, as basic as our rights, right to equality, right to education, right to choose career of our choice. These are all our basic rights. But we go on thanking people thinking that they are doing some favors to us and we don't have any rights. Why is this? What is the reason for this? The reason for this, as a lot of us can understand, we being women, our family and our society plays a very vital role in shaping our course of life as women. What I said, basic rights here, these are luxuries for millions of women across the globe. Women constitute half of the world's population, perform 2/3 of work hours, receives 1/10 of world's income and owns 1/100th of world's property. Half of the Indian population too are women. Women have always been discriminated against and suffered and are suffering discrimination in silence. We are forgetting the 50% of the world's population. We are leaving them behind. Then how can we expect any progress without bringing these 50% to the mainstream? As Swami Vivekananda has said, there is no chance for the welfare of the world unless the condition of woman is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on only one wing. So there is a need for giving equal strength and equal opportunities for women in order to achieve progress. In India, women are seen as divine and worshipped as the embodiment of all virtues on the one hand. But on the other hand, she is discriminated against and victimized by the norms created by the male-dominated society. In post-independent period of India, much has been done for liberation of Indian women in all classes and religion. But even then, it cannot be declared that she has got redemption from the clutches of male domination. The debate over the state of women in India was intensified after Thomson Reuters Foundation released the world's most dangerous countries for women 2018 report, which declared India as the worst country for women's safety. There are some objections to this report saying that this report is based on individual perceptions and not on scientific data. That is a different issue. World Economic Forum has published Global Gender Gap Index 2020, in which India ranked 112th out of 153 countries on its status of gender equality. India has slipped by few positions in this index compared to the last time, that is in 2018. In 2018, India's ranking was 108th, and this time it has come down to 112th. Some of the countries like Russia, China, Brazil and Germany, they are all much above in rank compared to India. And most surprisingly, one of the sub-Saharan countries called Rwanda, it is in ninth position in the Global Gender Gap Index. So according to me, it is high time that we have to do some introspection and see what is that India is doing wrong and how this situation can be improved. We have to think very seriously about it. Since then, the Government of India has given utmost priority to end the gender-based inequities, reducing disparity between men and women, improving socio-economic status of women, and increasing their participation in various fields. As far as rights of women in India are concerned, there are two types of rights. One is constitutional rights and another one is statutory rights. Constitutional provisions provide a sort of affirmative steps for Indian women. For example, Article 14 provides for equality before law and equal protection of laws. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. Article 15 clause 3 provides that Government of India can come up with any special law for protecting the rights of women, and that will not amount to discrimination. One of the sub-Saharan African countries, that is Rwanda, about which I mentioned just now, which is in ninth position in the Global Gender Gap Index. In fact, it was in second position in 2018. This country has reserved 30% of seats in the parliament for women candidates. Similarly, there are countries such as Bolivia that has created strict quota system for female representation in the legislature, as a result of which women's political participation has increased to 50% in Bolivia, and the literacy rate among women is 98%. In India, though we talk much about women's rights, but that sort of seriousness is not been demonstrated by political parties, irrespective of which political party it is. Why these political parties are not pushing women reservation bill in the parliament? Why they are not declaring reservation, quota for women participation in the election? These are all some of the questions that we should be asking. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, what I want to do is to take you quickly through some of the important laws that protects rights of women from her birth till death. Let us start from the beginning. In India today, unfortunately, female feticide is still a prevailing problem. We all know about it. According to UN's World Population Report 2020, 4.6 crore women are missing at birth each year in India due to sex selection. 4.6 crore women, you just think about it. For this, we have a law called Preconception and Pre-Diagnostic Techniques Act, PNDT Act, which is also called as Prevention of Sex Selection Act. This act prohibits identification of sex of a child in the womb. A pregnant lady is prohibited from conducting a test and knowing whether the child that she is going to deliver is a boy or girl. That is punishable. Doing so is punishable under the act. Not only the parents, but also the hospital authorities and the doctors under whose supervision this test is conducted, they are also held punishable. They are also liable for punishment under this act. After a girl child is born, many families, not only in rural areas but also in urban areas, not only uneducated families but also educated families, end up killing a girl child right when she is very young. Again, there is a law called Female Infanticide Prevention Law, which prohibits such killings merely because of sex. She should be given an opportunity. So, if you find anybody doing this around you, all that you need to do is to show some guts and complain this matter to the police. In India, the problem is not just that we are not aware of these laws, but also that when we are aware of laws, we do not take required step and not do anything about it. Even if we do inform the police, we sort of give up very soon. We don't go all the way to make sure that this evil of killing a girl child has stopped in India. Now when a girl child grows up and if the parents are of limited means and unable to send their daughter to school and pay the fees, we should all know that in India there is a right to free education, that is primary education, guaranteed under Article 21A of the Constitution. Article 21A of the Constitution declares right to education as a fundamental right, as a result of which we have RTE in place now, Right to Education Act, which provides for free and compulsory education for poor children even in private schools. It means till the age of 14 years, Indian government provides free and compulsory education to both boys and girls. So please encourage parents to send their girl children to school. But a lot of times, what happens? Parents don't want to send their girl children to schools and colleges because they are scared about what kind of treatment she would be met with when she goes to the school and college, what kind of treatment she would be met with in public places and campuses. A lot of times we hear about complaints like boys singing songs at girls, making representations, touching appropriately and making gestures, Siti Bajana and all these things. Under Indian Penal Code, there are clear provisions which make all of these a crime. They are considered as sexual harassment and punishable under Indian Penal Code, and some of the behaviors are considered as eve teasing, and that is also punishable under Indian Penal Code. All good in at least theory, but lot of times parents don't want to go to the police station in the first place because they fear that the girl will be called to the police station several times during investigation. In this connection, there is an important provision about which all of you should be knowing under section 160 of Criminal Procedure Code, which says that during investigation, female cannot be called to the police station. The investigation has to be done in the residence of women. So next time when you are in the similar position and if you have been called to the police station for interrogation, then you can ask police officials to come to your residence and conduct interrogation. You need not go to the police station. Now, this is about police station, and it's all fine with police station. But now, once you are back to the mainstream of workplace, people fear that even when they send their young girls to take up a job in an organization, probably there also they would be misbehaved with, even in good companies. Sexual harassment at workplace has become a horrifying reality for millions of working women who want to go out for work and support their families. Sexual harassment is considered as a violation of women's fundamental right to equality, which is guaranteed by Article 14 and 15 of the Constitution. Workplace sexual harassment creates an insecure and hostile work environment for women, thereby discouraging women's participation in work and adversely affecting their social and economic growth. Therefore, Government of India in the year 2013 passed a law called Sexual Harassment Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Prior to this, there was no law in India which specifically dealt with prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. The guidelines issued by the Supreme Court in Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan were applicable to organizations. Now that we have this law in place, there are so many provisions which intend to protect women from sexual harassment at workplace. According to this act, every company, workplace or organization that hires more than 10 or more than 10 employees is legally now required to set up what is called Internal Complaints Committee, ICC, so that women employee can complain to the committee if they are subjected to any kind of sexual harassment at workplace. Now the question arises as to what is sexual harassment? What can be considered as sexual harassment? The term sexual harassment has been defined very widely in the Act so as to cover all kinds of misbehaviors. According to Section 2N, sexual harassment can be defined as uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature. Any uninvited, any unwelcome, it may be verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature can be considered as sexual harassment under this provision. The following shall be considered as sexual harassment. They are physical contact and advances, demand or request for sexual favors if any of the employees or the boss in the company, if he requests for sexual favors from women, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, sending vulgar SMS and MMS, and any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature, inappropriate touching, or maybe saying something, making some comments about a woman, about her dressing, about her character, and so on. These are all considered as sexual harassment under the act. And this act requires that every company should have ICC constituted, and if any of the company fails to constitute ICC, then the penalty of 50,000 can be levied on that company, and sometimes it may also result in cancellation of business license. Now, some of the other rights guaranteed to women in India are equal pay for equal work. This is also another important right. Any act of paying less wages as compared to others similarly situated constitutes an act of exploitative enslavement. Therefore, a woman who is similarly positioned along with the man, if she is putting in equal work as that of a man, then she is also entitled to same pay as that of male. There cannot be any discrimination in payment of wages. That is another right guaranteed by the law. And as far as some of the rights relating to marriages in India are concerned, first and foremost is age of marriage. As you all know, for girls it is 18 years, and the age of marriage is 18 years, and for boys it is 21 years. If a girl is married off below 18 years, before attaining the age of 18 years, then it is considered as child marriage, which is an offense under the act. Child marriages are prohibited in India. There is a separate law which prohibiting child marriages. And once the child marriage happens, even then a girl, after attaining majority, she can go to the court and get the declaration from the court saying that the marriage is null and void. She can get the marriage declared as null and void, because child marriage is a voidable marriage at the option of the parties. Okay, she need not continue in the same marriage. She has got the liberty to come out of the marriage and dissolve that marriage. And even in case of marriages that takes place after attaining majority, we should ask ourselves, do we give freedom for girls to choose their partners? The answer is obviously not. But the Special Marriage Act gives freedom for girls to choose their partner. They can marry with any boy of their choice, irrespective of the religion. To whatsoever religion he belongs to, she can marry him under this Special Marriage Act. She can do so by following the procedure prescribed under the Act. And one more problem relating to the marriage is dowry. Taking and giving dowry is prohibited under the act. Giving and taking dowry both are offenses. But giving and taking dowry is going on for many years. Again, the question is, how many of us make use of this law, and how many of us raise our voices against this practice? That is another question that we should be asking ourselves. Now coming to the right of abortion. In India, women have right of abortion. They can abort unwanted child before 12 weeks of conception. And after 12 weeks, if she want to abort a child, then she has to take permission from the court, and then she can abort a child. As you all know, in some of the countries, abortion is completely prohibited, and a lot of discussion is going on about abortion. This is one of the subjects which has been widely discussed at national and international level. You must have heard about Savita Halappa's case. She was living in Ireland, and in Ireland, abortion is prohibited. Women don't have the right of abortion. As a result of that, I mean, as the doctors denied to conduct her abortion, she succumbed to death, and that led to the enactment of abortion laws in Ireland. This is another story. Another important right all women, working women, have is maternity benefit. Recently, Indian government has amended maternity laws, and by doing so, India has become one of the progressive country in this front. As you all know, working women have 26 weeks of maternity benefit. She should be given paid maternity leave for 26 weeks. And there are so many other provisions for lactating mothers also. So you should be knowing about all these provisions, and you should make use of these provisions. Now coming to divorce after marriage. When it comes to divorce in India, divorce, property issues, adoption, and all these personal matters are regulated by personal laws. Personal laws are applicable in these matters. Again, as far as divorce is concerned, it depends to which religion you belong. If you are a Hindu, Hindu law is applicable to you. If you are a Muslim, Muslim law is applicable to you. And for Parsis, Parsi law is applicable, and so on. Under Section 13 of Hindu Marriage Act, there are so many grounds for claiming divorce. On those grounds, divorce can be claimed. And cruelty is one of the grounds for asking divorce. All of us know about physical cruelty, but mental cruelty is also a good ground for claiming divorce. You all should be knowing about it. And then one more important issue I'll be talking about is domestic violence in India. Domestic violence is a very complex problem women are facing in India. Violence against women within the family had received little attention till recently. Women are the primary victims of family violence, and the tradition of household privacy has kept this violence against women hidden from the scrutiny. What people thought was women are safe within the four walls of her house, but the exploitation or violence against women starts from the family itself. There are so many reports which reveal that women are more harassed and subjected to more violence in families than outside. Within the last few decades, due to women's activism in various parts of the world, has helped slowly to increase the visibility of domestic violence as a social problem. According to a study, 1 in 3 women in India have been subjected to intimate partner violence. That's what the study reveals. 1 out of 3 women are subjected to violence by intimate partner, that is husband. And to combat this problem, Government of India passed Prevention of Domestic Violence Act in 2005. This law includes physical, emotional, sexual, and verbal, economic abuse as domestic violence. There are many provisions under this act for protecting women from domestic violence. She can go to the court and she can ask for protection order. Once the protection order is obtained by a woman, she cannot be thrown out of the residence by a husband or in-laws, even though she is not the owner of that house. She can ask for monetary reliefs, and she can ask for separate residence. There are so many provisions, and quick remedy will be made available under this act. Even a live-in wife, the wife who is in live-in relationship, is also considered as wife under this act, and she has also got some remedies against domestic violence under this law. Last bit in this video from my side is right to property, which is very important right for women. Recently, the Hindu Succession Act has been amended in India, and girls also have been given equal property rights, equal rights in the property. The Supreme Court of India has ruled that daughters have equal rights to Hindu family property as that of sons. All Hindu women now have equal rights to their father's property from 1956 itself, when the succession law was first codified. The Supreme Court, in one of its judgment, said that once a daughter, always daughter, son is son till he is married. It is said by Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, who was hearing the three-judge bench, who was one of the judges who heard this matter. Therefore, daughter become equal co-partners at birth, even if born before 2005 amendment to Hindu Succession Act. Now, there was some confusion regarding implementation of this amendment, but now Supreme Court has made it very clear that girls have equal rights in their parents' property, and this amendment is applicable retrospectively. Even though the father has died, even though he is not alive, the property, the right in the property has to be given to all women. Okay? This is about property rights of women. Now, in conclusion, I would like to say that passing laws is not panacea for all problems. It is the attitude and mindset of the people that should change. Unless the mindsets and attitudes are changed, nothing can change in the society. With this, I conclude my lecture, and I thank organizers for giving me this opportunity. And I think in this video, I made an attempt to give you an overview of some important laws that are existing in India to protect the rights of women. There are so many laws. It is not possible to cover all those laws in this short video. So I have tried to cover only important rights that every woman should know about. I hope this video was of some help to you. Thank you so much.